And so my next question is, what is your favorite piece of advice that anyone has ever given you? It's kind of a big one.
I think this was in my first internship, my first DC internship. My boss at the time told me, always be nice to the interns. I thought that was really strange. I was like, well, I am an intern. I'm really nice to my fellow interns. He's like, no, Morgan, as you move up, one day you will have a job and probably I'll need to pick up the phone and call you. And so it's really about sending the ladder back down and always remembering that, just because someone might be the intern today or, is not necessarily someone you need in this moment or need something from, it doesn't mean that in a few years you're not going to need to call them and ask for a favor.
What advice would you give to young girls wishing to pursue a career that doesn't exist? Because I know digital marketing 10 years ago, it wasn't a huge phenomenon.
Yeah. Look, you follow your passion and stay on top of what's going on in that world. If you love communicating, if you love art, always know what is the newest thing, what are the emerging skill sets, how can you marry them to other things? If you are an art person, in how do you find out what's going on in the tech world, so ultimately you can maybe marry the two for when that job or those worlds collide. There's no answer because these jobs don't exist yet, but I think just staying on top of those.
Morgan, what advice would you give to your 9th grade self?
That's a great question. I think I would look back and tell 9th grade Morgan, create more. It's not about what you wore to school that day. It's really about what I was creating and did I make time to go to art class and pursue my passion in art, which I did, and I ended up taking art history in college because that's what I loved. But I wish I had created more rather than worrying about what other people were saying about me or being part of that peer group. I think it's really hard to do that today when you're posting pictures or looking at what everyone is doing online. There is an offline component to being a creator, being a doer, and ultimately that's going to be where you find your passion. It's not going to be on Instagram. You can showcase what you're doing on Instagram and share that with the world, but I think it's a lot more important to think about what it is that you're making.
So not getting the job for the internship that you originally applied for, that was definitely like a hurdle that you had to overcome. So how did you jump back from that quote-unquote failure per se?
Sure. So when I was a junior and I applied to a lot of these big name internships and programs and I ultimately wasn't accepted, I ended up going to a conference that was held in American and walked up to one of the speakers and just started talking to him a little bit about his job and what he was doing, and asked him a few questions. His name is Amos Sneed, and I got his business card, and he told me to shoot him an email. He was starting a company called Story Partners, which is where I interned my entire senior year and led to my first job out of college at NJI. So he gave me his card and told me to shoot him a note that they're looking for interns this summer, and I did. I was a little hesitant because, again, I had never heard of this company. I just talked to this guy on the panel, and it ended up being one of the best connections and led me down the path that I was today. But it took a bit of courage to get up and go ask him more questions after he had been talking on this panel, and I had to wait in line to speak with him. But I think moving past that and looking for the next opportunity and not being weighted down by it. I don't think I did that in the moment per se intentionally, but I was more just focused on, all right, I didn't win the internship that I wanted, but I still really want to work in this field. So how am I going to make connections and learn more about it so next year I can do that if I want to?
Wow, that's a great story of perseverance and resiliency.
And lastly, do you have any advice for others who may want to enter a similar field?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people underestimate how technical marketing can be. I build systems. We work across digital, which requires some HTML knowledge, if not a lot more. And I think that can be daunting. And as marketing moves into this digital age more and more, understanding that, even if you aren't the one building it, is crucial, just because, again, that helps you collaborate across so many different fields and with the people that you work with. I think don't leave out the technical and always be a good writer are the two things.
Thank you so much. So great to have you.
Well, thank you for your time. It's nice to see all the amazing things that go down in 1776. So thank you.
This time, this is my fight.